So guys, we are back again with our last video. So we already did all the required uh, programming at least in order for to make our budget web app to work. So this is all that we already did in our previous video. So in this video, what we're gonna do is basically change all of our code in here in our index.normal.js into something that more neat and readable way of coding our JavaScript programming. So first, let's open our index neat.js and also close this over here and open your index.html and uncomment this index.normal.js and uncomment your index.js in order for us to make it work later on. So if I insert a new project in our budget app over here, it should not work. Yeah, it should not work. Yeah, it's not working. That's because we already changed our script .js to be our index.js. That's why it's not working. So with that out of the way, what we're going to do here in our index.js, basically we're going to implement something that call as MVC. So if you guys knew about MVC already, that's very good and great. But for those who don't know about MVC, you guys can learn about it, the concept of MVC. You guys need what you guys just need to do is go in Google and just type MVC. MVC is MVC, which basically stands for model, view, and also controller. So briefly, I will explain to you guys about MVC. M is stands for model, which model where we put all of our code that deals with data, meaning that send, fetching, modifying of our data in and out from our database. So basically, all the code that deals with data, we're going to put in our model. But since we don't have any database and integration in our budget web app, but we do have our so-called hard code data structure in our budget web app. And in view, while in view, we're going to put all our code that deals with our UI. So basically, usually, and I can say most of back end framework like me, I have a past experience of using back end PHP framework like E2, Laravel, uh, most of them use this concept, MVC concept. So in Vue, we going to put all the code that deals with our UI, basically our .html files, our CSS, our JavaScript file, all that have something to do with our UI, going to be the code going to be put in our Vue. Whereas our controller is where we basically merge, or maybe not merge, maybe we're going to put our code that have relation that relate our model and view controller. So basically the controller is where we relate our model and view codes. So why not we start doing that? Okay, the first thing that we're going to create is our model controller. Why don't we list first all what we need to do in here. So we're going to create our model controller, which like I said before is going to deals with our data, of course, our budget data, and B is going to be our view controller, which deals with our UI, and C going to be our controller, which deals with the code relation between both upper controllers, just like that. And all three of them, all three of these model, view, and also controller, going to be a self invoke function. We're going to declare it as a self invoke function. So model controller, like before, uh, this is how you create a self invoke function, and just copy this line of code, paste it over here, and change the model to view. And last but not least, for our controller. Oh, so this is how we do it. But first, before we start on what we're gonna do first, updating our month and year in our budget web app, what we're gonna do, what I'm going to share with you guys first is explain to you guys how we're going to make make this work. So basically, like I said before, in our controller, in our save input function, controller save input function, what we're going to do in here is basically we're going to relate this model and view controller codes that soon we're going to do in our model and view controller. So how are we going to make basically relate these two to our controller? It's easy actually. So what we're going to do first is just pass our model controller and also view controller inside your last bracket. This is how uh, it works. If you use a self import function, you cannot just call your view and also model controller uh, like like this. Model controller and view controller like this. If you don't have, if you just call it something like this, then if you do anything, any code like this, and then you just call your model controller dot anything, it's not gonna work. In order for it to work, you need to basically call it in here first in your last bracket, and then pass it as a argument in your uh, bracket in here. But in order to not make it confused, just why not we just name it like this, short controller. Yep, something like this. And the next thing that I have to share with you guys first is that let's say we have in our view controller something we have something that holds a string of something. And how basically we're going to display this something in our controller? How are we going to not display? How are we going to basically call it to use it? It's easy actually. This is how we're going to do it. Okay. How, let's say we have maybe we create something in here also. How we going to have this something to be in here, somewhere in here. So in order for us to do that, we need to create a return object in our view controller so that we have a public function that return this something. So when I say a public function, meaning that all functions that we declare in our return object in here is going to be publicly available for self-invoke function like controller to use this function that we declare. So maybe we put display something, and then this is how you're going to declare your function in your return object. So we're going to return our something, and in here, what we what we just need to do is just call view controller, and immediately after you press period, it's going to automatically display your any of your public function that you declare in your return object in view controller. So I hit period and you can see we have something display something. Just put open and close bracket like any other function when you call it, and console log console dot log something. Hit save. Immediately you're going to see something being printed out in your console.log in your browser. That's basically how we're going to manipulate our data uh, in our safe involve all these three safe involve function basically in our controller. So without further ado, let's make it work. Why don't we just delete all of these first? Delete this all first, and also something over here. Yep, just like that. So first thing that we need to do is to update our month and year. We already did that in our index.normal.js. Where is it? Yeah, we have our update month and year over here. So what we need to do to change this into our index, so to apply this in our index, so index need.js is very easy actually. So why don't we go through our code first? Here we have current month, months and year, and we call our DOM string over here. We have date now. So basically we need to use this DOM string that we have over here. So why not we import that first? But like I said before, anything that have to do with our dealing with our UI, we're going to put in our view controller. So it makes sense that if we put our DOM manipulation things in our DOM string, in our view controller. So let's just copy all of this, our DOM string, and put it over here. Let DOM string, just paste it all. Hit save. So say that's done, and come back here in our update month and year. So if we see all our codes in here, what we did in here have nothing to do with our data, have nothing to do with our budget data, right? So if we didn't have anything with our to do with our budget data, then what we're gonna do is just copy all of these. Just need to copy all of these comment. Go to our index.js, and in our return object, what we're going to do, we're going to display. We're going to create our. We're going to create a public function to display our date basically. So uh, just name it as display date and create a function and just paste your our coding over there. Oh, one more, and hit save. So we basically import all our data from previous one to over here and change this year, and then to display our month and year. If you hit save, nothing actually change in our budget app in our browser over here. Our month and year it still says month and year. In order for us to make it a change, we need to call the display the date. So we can declare it, just call it here like view controller dot display date and hit save. And if you can see first, all DOM string is not defined. The reason is that we didn't change this. What we have to do is delete this parentheses, basically just call our DOM string up here. Oh, oh, sorry. Delete this all. And this should work now. Yep, it's working June 2020. But for uh, for to make this more easy, I think I should declare this first, and I reckon you guys to follow this also. So we're going to declare a public function also in our controller, the only public function, which we're going to call it as init. So in this init public function is going to call basically when we run our budgetware app, this init function is going to be called. That's basically how it's going to do. So in this init function, public function, we're going to call or basically update when user get inside our budget app. Basically, the first thing that we going to do or init is our is going to update and basically display date. So in here, we're going to view controller and display date, save. And if you hit save, you can see back in your budgetware app, month and year is still not changing. That's because we didn't call our init function. So this is the only function that we're going to call out. I'm going to call this init save. Make sure that you call your init, your public function of init from your controller save invoke function outside your save invoke controller function. This is outside your save invoke function. So call it like that. So the next thing that we need to do is change color of our division class middle part content, which is our code over here, change input content, bg color selection main top. Go to our index init.js, and same as before, if we look back at our change input container bg, what we did, the code that we did in here is has nothing to do with our data. So this has everything to do with our UI, right? If you see DOM strings, DOMs in this have something to do with our UI. So all this code that we have in here should be put in our view controller that deals with our UI. So in this display of date, same as before, we create our basically uh, to handle the function to handle this over here. So just copy the command we have up here, paste it here, press enter, and then maybe we name it as middle part bg color change. Or if you don't want to be confused every time you go here, just copy this, copy, and then just do something like this. Much more easier if you want to track it, track back your code. And don't forget, if you declare another function in here, public, just put it commas over there. And then in here, what we basically going to do, so every time we click on this plus and minus selection inputs, we're going to change our color of our background of container that contain all our input, right? Plus it's going to hold our blue background color, and if we change to minus, and then it's going to change to our pink background color. So in our index.init.js, this change inputs container the pg, what we're going to do in here, basically we're going to only put this code in here. This is going to make sense. Just wait through. This is what is going, the only thing that is going to be in here. Delete this all. hit save again. So in order for us to call this, we need to create an event listener of change, right? Like we did in here. We have an event listener of change, document the query selector content item that add event listener of change. So all event listener, we're going to create it or basically handle it in our controller. So whether we create a function, gonna hold all the event listener equal to going to create a function over here and copy our event listener of change over here, paste it over here. So in here, first we're going to basically change inputs container background color according to oops according to selection main. This is the first thing that we're going to do. So in here, instead of a straight call, we just put close over here. So in here, basically, if we look back in our index.js, we straight create a function over here to change our middle part content background color. But in this index need.js, this part of code is here, right? So what we need to do is just call our function in here, change color, save. Yep. After that, if you but if you look back in here, we call our all DOM string. Basically, we have manipulation of DOM strings over here, right? But if we hit save and then we maybe change something over here, it's not gonna change anything since this DOM string is not working right now. Just to show you guys to see whether it's not working or not, why don't we call our init or basically listen to all event happening. Yep, we create something all event listener. We just call it here. If you hit save, and then you can see the uncaught reference error. All terms is not defined. That's a given because we didn't uh, basically get our DOM string in order to be shared in our controller. So let's do that first. So how we can basically share our DOM string? It's fairly easy actually. Put comma over here and then just maybe comment something just to make it easier for us to track later on. So share our DOM string. So maybe just get DOM strings. If I can spell it right, string. Oh, where is it? Oh, my bad. DOM string, and just return our DOM string of it. Hit save, and then in our all event listener, what we're going to do first is we need to declare our pass DOM string, right? You get to get all DOM strings. If I can spell it right, get our DOM string. So let DOM view controller dot get DOM strings. Save. So instead of using DOM string over here, we can just call it as DOM, like we did up here. Hit save, And then you can see if we change our plus and minus, it should be working like so. So this is the first part. And then what we need to do next is create an object of budget data to store required data such as blah 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 blah. What we have here, index.normal.js. This is the part of code that we create our data, right? So what we have to do is just copy all of our budget data over here until this is copy, go to your index.js. So this is, we're going to put it now our model controller, since this have to do with our data. So hit say hit V for to paste it down, and just like that, it's safe. So in readme we have done that, and next thing we need to do, add new item, and also delete item, right? So in our index.need.js, we go back to our controller. In our all event listener, if you see that your index.js, whenever we want to add new item, whenever we want to add new item, we're gonna have an event listener of click, right? If a user click this submit button or enter enter key to submit this button, all these are using event listener. And also if you want to delete an item, we also use an event listener of click, right? So we're going to begin with event listener first. So in our all event listener function, why don't we just list down what we have to do in here. So the second thing that we're going to do in here is add a new item, of course. We're going to add new item. So this one going to be event listener, event listener uh, of click, of course, on submit button. And we also have uh, add if add new item if on keydown, if basically add new item when user hit enter key, right? Event is not of keydown on enter key hit. And last but not least, we have delete item. Delete. Either we just copy this, copy, delete item. This is going to be the last event listener that we're gonna have. So for our click on submit button, that the first thing that we're going to do is we just copy this line of code that we already did, paste it here, and then change our all DOM string to just DOM. Save. And just leave it at add new item. And this one gonna be the same for our key down base, but this is going to be our key down. But for key down, what we're going to do is just add event listener, document.event listener of key down. And this one going to be our event So when user, let me just copy all this. Copy, paste it here. I should have done that earlier. Blah blah blah, and we call our add new item. Yep, hit save, and then what we're gonna do next is outside your all event listener, we're going to create our add a new item event listener of click button. Let me just copy this over here. We don't need to copy it. Add new item. So let we create our add new item bracket. So in here, what we're gonna do first, if we see by our index.domo.js, we go back the most upper one. You can see it over here. We have add new item. First, we're going to get our user inputs, and then we're going to validate user inputs, right? So after we validate user inputs, then we're going to add new item into the storage. And to add new item into storage, we create ID for that particular item based on their and push the and create uh, their content, their ID, the description, and also value using our uh, income constructor and also our expenses function constructor. And lastly, we're going to push according to which item type it belong. It's either income or also expenses. And then after that, we're going to display them in our UI. And after that, we're going to create a function to clear and refocus back to our description input over here, right? Last but not least, we need to calculate or update our budget, so update our expensive percentage. So that's what we're going to do in our add new item. So why not we list all that first? So this is how it's gonna looks like in your index.js. Much more easy to do and much more easy to read or go through. So first we're going to get user input, same like before, user input. And then second, what we're going to do is we're going to uh, validate user input, or you just can copy your comment over here, validate user input. And then inside your validate user input, what we're going to do first is add new item to storage, right? Let me this, add new item storage. And then we're going to 2.2 going to be update and display. Copy this one, update and display. And then your 2.3 going to be clear and refocus. Oop, oop, comment first. Going to be clear and refocus to dash input placeholder. So your 2.4 going to be your I update your budget calculation, and your 2.5 gonna be your update expenses percentage, right? So this is what we're going to do in our add new item, same as before. If you see all this back, but what we're going to do in our index JS, we're going to compartmentalize so that all the code that have to do with our UI is we put in our view, and all the code that have to do with our budget data is going to put in our model controller. So first, what we're going to need to do is we're going to get our input. Let input, and of course we already know that in order for us to get input, we're going to if you see that get values input user input, it should be below, I think. Over here. And then if you see in our get values user input, we have query selector of DOM string. So all this code should be placed in our view controller. So why don't we create a view controller dot get values input. Just copy this first, paste it just like that. And then where don't we just copy all of these, copy, and then go back to your view controller, over here. Why don't we space it to make more easy to. So in your return object of view controller up here, what we're gonna do is just like that, paste your get value, and don't forget your comma, and change this to colon. And then also make sure that you copy your comment, get user input, copy, paste it over here, get user input. So what you need to do left is just change all DOM string to just DOM. DOM string, copy this, change to this DOM string. Okay, so in our add new item, you can see that we already set up our let input view controller get. So if you want to see where it's working or not, why don't we just console log it over here, console log input. It's safe, and then try it over here, project 1, have a value of 1000, hit enter. uh get values input is not function 134, where is it? Yeah, delete that. Again, we can try it. 1000. Yep, it's working. And then why don't we try for our rand 500? Yeah, it's working all right. So our let input controller is working. So what we're going to do next is validate user input. So go back up here, of course, copy all of this. Why don't we just go all the way down, just copy all of this, just to make it easier, and just maybe just maybe just paste it over here, and oh, paste it over here. And then we're going to, I should have done this earlier, right? Ish. Okay. Something like this, and something like this. So late update. So should be something like this. Input dash. This should be the same because we name it as input item dash. Then the next thing that we're going to do is add new item to storage. And if we look back, if we say storage, then this have something to do with our model, right? So we create our new item. You go to model controller dot add item to storage. We add item to storage. If you see, we have a new item over here, and then in here we create ID. We create according to our function constructor over here, and then we push them and we return the new item back in order for us to display it in our UI. So we're going to create our add new item storage over here. So add new item storage, copy this. This one, we're going to put in our model.controller. So in our model.controller, go to your model.controller. What we have here currently, just the declaration of our function constructor and also our data object. So create our return object over here and paste and create a function out of it. The latest command is. So this is going to be our first going to be our function. So in here, what we're going to do is basically we're going to copy what we have in here. Let ID until this return, copy all of this, paste it down, done. Anything should be the same. And then we have return new item. So we should have new item over here. So if we console.log new item, and then we try it again, project 1000, input is not defined at line 46. Should check it back. 46 input or item type. Oh, my bad. We need to pass the input, right, in our add no item. So in here, you can see that our model.controller add item to storage. We need to pass our input as an argument. Paste down, and then also in our public function of add item to storage, you know, we have our input in here also as an argument. So test it all again. Oh, project 1000. Yep, it's working. Income, blah 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 blah. It's going to be the same. It's going to work also for our expenses. Yep, expenses also working. So we already basically add new item to our storage over here. It's working. And then what we're going to do next is update and display our new added item in our storage, right? So basically what we're going to do in here, we're going to create a function to display it. So basically, if you want to display something that have to do with our UI, so we're going to use a public function in our view controller. Display new item. So if we go back to our index.normal.js, this part already done. So this is the code to display our new item, right? So go back to our index.net.js. We're going to declare a new public function to display this new item. Display new item, which basically we're going to pass our new item and also input item type. This argument, these two arguments, we use it in here. You can see that we have a new item and also we have input item type in here. Basically, what we have in our first new item, you can see that we return new item over here. That's why we can use it in here. And also we need to pass our input item type. So that's why I'm passing these two as arguments in our display new item. So just copy this uh, since this have to do with view controller, then go back to your view controller, save what function, and up here, oops, paste it down, put a comma, change it to function, command this, hit save. This should be just item type. So this should be just item type save. So in here, the code in here, what we're going to do is just copy your code inside your until over here. Copy, enter, paste it all down. And then just did a slight change. Instead of using item type, import item type, just leave item type. And all DOM strings should be changed to just DOM strings. New item type, it's okay, it's okay. And but before that, we need to import our number format, right? If we didn't import it, why don't we import it right away? So in our index.normal.js, just find your number.format. I think we put it down here. Yeah, our number.formatting. Just copy all of it, copy. And then since our number.format, we only use it to display the right number format. So it's given that we should declare this in our view controller saving work functions. Just paste it down in your view controller saving work function under your DOM strings, not inside your return object. So in order for us to use it right away, change this, and also this one should be changed to just DOM strings. Also this should be just item type, and this also this should be stay same. So if we hit save and then we try it, this code over here that we did actually to print out the new item, right, to display. So it should actually print out in our budget web app UI 1000. Hit enter. Yep, it's working. It's printed out nicely. So ran 500, enter. Yep, it's printed out nicely. And next, what we're going to do is clear and refocus to this description input placeholder. So if you see again, even if I enter the ran, the description over here is still there. What we're going to do next is to clear this and refocus back to our placeholder over here. So what we're going to do next is same, is easy actually. Basically what we're going to do is just import the code from our index.normal.js to our index.need.js. So go back to your add new item. This part of code over here is to clear all the input fields and also refocus back. So what we're going to do next is in here, we basically call again our view controller, since this is have something to do with clearing. Copy over here, paste, done, save, copy all of them, copy, go back to your view, paste them down, put a comma over there, don't forget. Oh, comment this. Oh, sorry, colon over here. Save. So inside of here, just copy all of this, copy, paste, and make a slight change. The downstream, copy, paste, and paste. It's safe, and then that should work fine. So if I create another load, maybe no, maybe I should create a project 1000. So if I hit this submit button or the right click button or enter key, what's going to happen is it's going to clear out this placeholder of this description and also this placeholder of the value. So I hit it. Yeah, it's working. So that's finished. Then the next thing that we need to do is update our budget, calculate and display. So in here, we're going to just declare a function, and we're going to create a function up here to update budget. You just copy all of this, copy to the update budget. So inside our let dot update budget, so inside of our function over here, what we're going to do first, if we go back to our index dot normal.js, in our update of budget, we're going to calculate total income and expense, total income, and also calculate our total expenses, and calculate or update our overall budget, and also calculate our percentage, overall percentage, right? And then just after that, we're going to display all the budget, those all of them. And if we want to compartmentalize this, where which one of the code that should we put in our model and view? So this part of code have everything to do with our data, right? Where we calculate income, total expenses, our overall budget, also our overall percentage. This all have to do with our model controller, which by the way have to do with our budget data. And the second part of code uh, have to do with our only have to do with our UI stuff, right? So this is going to be in our view controller. So all this part of code, we're going to place it in our model controller. So go back to our index need.js. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to basically calculate total incomes. Hope if I can spell it right. Total income, and also our expenses, overall budget, and overall percentage, and overall percentage. So these all going to be in just one function. The function. So I'm just going to name it calculate all. Going to hit save. And the second thing that we're going to do in here, we're going to display total. Just copy all of these again and paste it down here. Save. Display total. So first, why not we just do this first? Calculate all the total income, so the expenses, overall budget, so our overall percentage. So go back to our model controller, since this have to do with our data, it's base, put a comma over there. Oh, and then change this, put a colon, and command that. Save, enter. So in calculate all, what we're gonna do is just place all of our code that we have in our calculate all single calculate all. So index.normal.js, we're going to copy all of this until here, copy, hit enter, sure all of it in line. Yep, it's all. But in here, we're going to make a little bit of changes in here. So if you can see our this part of code and this part of code basically contain the same code, right? So instead of declaring or doing two times, we're going to change it so that it will call it or just do it. Or we going basically we're going to place this part of code in inside a specific function. So go back before your return object. We're going to create a function to basically calculate totals, right? This function going to have to calculate totals of incomes and also expenses. So let calculate uh, calculate totals equal to item type. If see down again, this have income expenses, so it has different item types. So that's why we need to pass the argument of item types. So in here, we need to paste the code that we copied earlier and change this income to item type, and this also item type, and hit save. Other things should be the same. So calculate total income, we're going to change it as calculate totals, and we're going to pass income. Copy, and we should do the same for our expenses. Save. Other than that, should be the same. Yeah, save. Okay. We already did that part of code. So to see if it's working or not, why don't we display our budget, or maybe we just do the part of code that going to actually display the budget in our UI. So next thing that we need to do is to handle this display budget part, right? So in our index.need.js, go back to your update budget in your controller, saving work function. So display total income, expenses, overall budget, and overall percentage. So inside of here, we're going to declare a basically uh, view controller, a new public function to display. Let's just call it display all. And so we need to display all. What are all is our are actually our incomes, expenses, budget, and also percentage. So if we basically, if let's say we just copy this first, go back to your uh, view over here inside your view controller, paste it down, create a function out of that, enter. Oh, sorry, something like that. So if we paste it straight away, I mean like display all. So inside this display all, if we go back to our index.html and then we copy this part of code, this all copy and paste it in here. Make sure that all of them are in line and hit save. This should be DOM string copy paste. Just change this all to DOM string like that, like that. Uh, this should be DOM string and last one should be DOM string. Hit save. So if we basically project one, this should not work. Even if you hit enter, and then it will say it will display your project, but uh, other than that, it's not going to display your overall budget, your overall total income, total expenses, also your overall percentage. That's because if you look in your console log, data is not defined, line of 151. So if you go back here, this data over here, data overall budget is not defined here. Why? Because we call this inside our view controller instead from our model controller, right? Like before, I said everything that have to do with data, we're going to place it in our model controller, right? And everything that have anything that have something to do with our UI, we're going to display in our view controller. So since when displaying our data of when we trying to display our total income, expenses, and overall budget, also our overall percentage, we need to get this data first, right? In order for us to display it in our UI. So what we're going to do here, we're going to uh, maybe we're going to basically just put it argument over here. I'll call it as data. It's save, and then since we put it there in our controller, basically we need to pass data over here, right? So before we're going to display, before we going to display our uh, all, we basically what we need to do is to get the data first from our model controller. So this is going to be the second thing we're going to do after we get the data to UI. So the first thing that we need to do first is to get budget data first. So let data equal to model ctrl dot maybe something like get budget. Simple as that, get budget. So copy this line of code, copy, go to your controller, no, your model uh, return object over here. paste it down, change it to function over here, just like that. And then in our get budget public functions, we're going to return our data in there. So the only data that we want to return is we're not going to return all of this, right? We're just going to return our total income, our total expenses, our overall budget, and also our overall percentage, right? So why don't we create a new object? We're going to return a new object of data. So inside of here, we're going to create a total. So if we look back in our UI, we use yeah, over here. We use name of overall budget. We also use a total dot income over here, but we're going to make a slight change to that code over there. So what we're going to use instead of here, I think the easiest way for us to do this, just going to just pass our total income equal to data dot totals dot income. Copy this, the comma. It should be expenses, comma again. Overall budget should be data dot overall budget, and overall percentage should be data dot overall percentage. So hit save. So our total income and our total expenses, we go back to our display all. This should be the same, but this one we should change it to like this. Copy is that the expenses. Our totals have S or not. Now we don't have S. So delete is save the overall percentage. Anything else should be the same. So why not we try it? It should work. Project 1,000. Yep, it's working over here. And then if we put rent 500, enter. Yeah, it's working. 50% from the total income to get our overall percentage. So our total budget or overall budget is going to be 1,000 minus 500. That's why we got 500 over here. So the next thing that we need to do is to calculate our single expenses, right? So rent over here, rent is basically, we should change this 0% to 50%. That's what we're going to do next. So go back to your controller. Inside of add new item, we already finished our update budget over here. So inside our add new button, add new item. So inside of here, what we're going to do next is basically go back to our index normal, index normal.js, go back upside. So this is what we're going to need. Update expenses percentage. Going to paste it down here, hit save, and then copy, below our update budget function, we need to declare this function over here. Save. So inside of here, what we're going to do that go back to our index.js. Basically, inside of here, we're going to calculate every expenses percentage, and also we're going to display. This is the part of calculation, right? Call this. So all of this going to be put in our model controller, and all of this going to be put in our view controller, because this part of code have everything to do with UI stuff. So we're going to put it or put this all of this part of code inside our model controller next. Calculate every expenses. So copy this. Every expenses percentage. Copy. And then inside of here, we're going to list all the steps first. Calculate every expenses percentage. And then going to display all. Maybe I just name it. Display all single expenses percentage. And then like before, we're going to get first the all the single data, right? So we need to get all single expenses percentage, and last but not least, then after that, we're going to display all single expenses percentage on UI. So first, we're going to calculate every expenses percentage. So we're going to do that in our model controller. Over here, calculate expenses percentage. We just create our own calculate all single expenses percentage. And spell it right. Copy over here. And go back to our model. Yep. Up here, paste it down, put a comma, hit enter, change it like that. So inside of here, what we're gonna do is that we're gonna place all the code that we have in it. Let's calculate copy all of this, go back to your model controller. Let me look back my reference. So inside of it, we paste it down. Let calculate. Oh, sorry. Calculate. I should paste it all down. Something like that. And we call it our calculate expenses percentage right over here. So why don't we put this part of code outside, maybe over here, and name it as, should copy this part of code, paste, save. Yep, like that. Maybe Other than that, I think we don't need to change anything else. So that part of code is done. And then go back to your controller, saving board function in your update expense percentage. Next thing that we need to do is get all single expenses percentage. So inside of here, we need to get all single expenses percentage from our data or budget data, right? So why don't we declare a variable to hold all the single expenses percentage. If I can spell it right, it's percentage. So we're going to get that from our model controller. So this one I'm going to call it as get all single expenses percentage, comma, copy this all, go back to our model over here, paste it down, and then change it to a proper function, comma, colon, delete over this, and command is save. So inside of in here, we're going to return all the single expenses percentage. So in order for us to get that data, so we're going to return data dot all items and all our expenses dot map. We're going to use dot map in order to return only the percentage of every expenses. Expense. So inside of here, we're going to get all the expense percentage, right? So if we look back in our structure, inside of our expenses, each and every one of our expense going to have percentage inside of it, right? So what we did in here, basically we create a new array that contain only each percentage of expense. So we don't need our description and ID and also our value. We don't need all of this. We just need this only. So that's why we're going to use map over here. So go back to our controller. Go back to our controller, our budget, update expense percentage. So right after that, then we're able to call our basically display all. So why don't we just copy the single percentage base and also pass. Oops, pass all single percentage. Save. Copy this line over here. Copy and go back up inside your view controller, return object, paste it down, put a comma, and change it to a proper function. Comment this, save, go back to your index.js, index normal.js, and copy this part of code over here. Go back to your index.js and just paste it all down. Save and change this all DOM string to just DOM string. Copy this and this should be, and all single expenses percentage. Copy this up here and change your data all item percentage dot length, which is all single space percentage. To same here, and also same uh here. But don't forget to save. Should be like this. Save. It's safe and try to see whether it's working or not. So project 1 should be 1000, and then why don't we put rent of 500? Oh, it's not displaying over here, so that maybe we have some element qd dom string or single expense percentage. Okay. Ah, this one should have increment over here. So hit save, and then again we can do project 1000. It ran. This supposedly should work. 50%. Oh, it's not working. So I don't know. Just put one more over here. Maybe 100. Oops. Oh, it's not working. So meaning that in here, what? Oh, we didn't. We should not use dot percentage, right? Because we already create a map, a new array that contain only the percentage. So should not put the dot percentage. My bad. So instead of it, just click save. This time should work. Definitely should work. So 1000. You put rent of 500. Changes to expenses. Yep, it's working right now. So loan maybe around 300. Yeah, it's working. So our code in here, it's working fine right now. And the last thing that we need to do is to create our to handle our last but not least a function to delete an item. So why don't we copy this all, copy index.it, go back to our controller, save import function. So this is the last thing that we need to do. And change our, this should be DOM, right? This is our controller. DOM, add events, list of click, delete existing item. So hit copy over here, and then we go back all the way down to add new item, paste it down here, create a proper function. Oh, sorry. Oh, create a proper function here. Let and delete item. So inside of here, what we're going to do, go back to your index normal.js, all the way up in delete existing item. What we're going to do is first we why don't we just copy all of this, copy, and then we paste it down inside of here. Just make sure all of them inline, and then we have an event over here. Everything else should be the same. Split, 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 split. And this part of code have something to do with handling or deleting data from storage. So this part of code should be handled in our model controller, right? And this part of code should be handled in our view controller. So why not delete item from storage? This is going to be, why don't we create a new model, .l, delete item in storage. So if we see in here, we need the item type and also we need the item ID. We need the item type and also item ID. So copy this. We're going to pass it here. And so copy this. We're going to pass it here. So all of this, cut them, or maybe not yet. Why don't we just copy this first? Copy. Go back to your model controller. Inside your model controller return object. Paste it down here. So and make the slide changes. Just like that. Oops. Save and go back. And this time, got it. Cut them. Go back up. And then paste it all in here. And maybe we need to do a slide change in here. So let's see if we need to do any slide change. I don't think we need to do any of them. Yeah, it should stay the same. And we go back down inside our delete existing item function in our controller self import function. So next thing that we need to do is to create a public function to handle the remove of the deleted item from the UI. So in here we just call view controller. We're going to create a new public function called remove deleted item from UI. And then what we're gonna need in here, only the item type ID, right? You can see it, we just need the item type ID in here. So copy this, or maybe we just delete this first. Copy this, go back up inside your view controller, return object, and then make slide change, put up here, and then okay, command this, save, go back to your index normal.js, copy this part of code, copy, and then paste it all down, hit save. That should sum it all down. I think we successfully managed to change and implement all of them. 1000, and maybe I should put ran of 500, or not 5500. Save, and then maybe one more loan of 300, not 3000. Okay, let's check whether our delete button is working on all. Oh, Ah, why did I hit save? My bad. I need to do it all over again. So project one. So if you guys don't want to use your, I mean, if you guys want to use local storage, I think it's much more fun to use local storage, right? So so that if you hit save, it won't basically remove everything that you already did in here. So hit run, put another loan in there, 300, hit enter. So if I hit this, it should just have ran and delete this loan over here. Yep, it's working. So that's all, guys. We managed to basically change our normal kind of normal kind of coding our JavaScript programming to a more neat and readable way of coding your uh, code JavaScript programming. So basically, if you go back to your index normal.js, what I can say is that the distinct uh, differences you can see between your index normal.js or the normal way of coding your JavaScript programming and your the neat way of coding your JavaScript programming is that what I can share with you guys when I first stumbled upon this method over here is that I basically uh, realized that in my index.neat.js, whenever I want to basically search where is my coding of event listener when I do uh, basically add event listener, right? The change, click event listener, key down event listener, any kind or all kind of event listener. Where did I put them in my normal way of coding JavaScript? So inside of here, uh, where we can see is that we have this click event listener, key down, and also forward delete existing item. As far as I as far as I look in here, I only find 3 event listener. But when I search, I have 4 of them. So search again, and I find it up here inside our change inputs container BG. So every time we change plus to minus, we'll change the background color, right? That's why we have change event listener over here. But this is how we code in the normal way of coding JavaScript. But the neat way, we I basically can know for sure that I when I search at event listener, I have 4 of them, and all 4 of them inside my all event listener. That's why I said this kind of method it's much more easy to go through, easy to read, easy to track your code. The same goes with how MVC structure works, meaning that anything that have to do with data directly with our budget data is going to be placed in our model controller. And anything that have to do with displaying your data or anything that have to do with your UI, we're going to put the codes inside our view controller. That's why when I go through our all let's say I will go to inside our controller save import function, right? So inside our controller save import function, if I see view controller in front of any function that I call behind view the controller itself, that I know for sure that this function handles the UI kind of stuff. That's because I call it from because I call it using view controller, and I go here. If I want to change the background color of inputs container, then if I want to see ho- how the what is the general structure of the function of change input container BG. When I see this, I already knew that this function over here is something that have to do with UI, the DOMs and manipulation, all of that kind of thing. The same thing happen if I go to add new item, go to add new item function over here. And again, view controller is being called over here, then that means this function get values user input is going to be something that have to do with DOM manipulation or something that have to do with UI. And if I see model controller is being called here, then directly I knew that add item to storage is going to be something that directly to do with my budget data. So that's why doing this kind applying or implementing this kind of method using MVC kind of structure inside your JavaScript programming is much more easy to track and easy to read. That's why I recommend to all of you guys to do this kind of uh, method or this kind of uh, coding for your programming language. Any kind of web app, if you want to build after this, why don't you try to use this kind of method? It's much more, I can say, makes sense. If you don't know about, for those who don't know about MVC, then this kind of method, then it will not make sense for you to use this kind of method because you don't know how MVC works. But if you read more about MVC, go to Google, just type MVC concept, and then you read through how MVC works. If you're not a read kind of person, then maybe you can go to YouTube, listen to how people explain how MVC works. In most kind of frameworks out there, all of them are using MVC concept right now. Uh, so that's all for this video. This series of sharing you guys, this video of sharing you guys how to basically code your JavaScript in more neat way of programming your JavaScript programming. So that's all. I hope you guys can implement this in every kind of your web app. Doesn't matter if the web app is easy or I mean like a simple web app or maybe much more hard or very uh, what I can say complicated logic that you have to implement in your web app. It's going to it's going to basically save your time, save your life of maybe code something that much more uh, complicated logic, right? So this web app is, I can say, is fairly simple web app. If you have maybe something that much more complicated, I think if you do the normal way of coding your web app, it's going to be like, I don't know, much more harder to track your code. You have to go down, up, down, and you have to basically track it by always you have to check it by using ctrl+f to find the function name. But if you use your index neat kind of way of programming your JavaScript, then I think it's going to be easy. So because every time you want to see whether you handle data or you handle something that have to do with UI, then you just go straight to your model controller or view controller. It's much more easy. So that's all. Thanks for uh, be with me all this video series of uh, coding your JavaScript programming in more neat way. So thank you again. Until next time. Ciao, guys.